Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Our top story: the Knowsley fire of 1991. The Grenfell report today said that the disaster could have been prevented if lessons had been learned. Hundreds of high-rise residents here are still waiting for remedial work on their homes. Also tonight, the traffic calming measures that brass bands fear could put a bump in the road of their world-famous march. Cheshire's Dame Sarah Storey, Britain's most decorated Paralympian, wins an 18th career gold medal. We'll be live in Paris. A historic Liverpool pub that's been delighting drinkers for over a century and has now won a conservation award.
And Mrs D sent us this beautiful picture from Lancashire. It's been a mixed picture with sunny spells and showers, but what is it looking like tomorrow? Join me later, I'll give you all the details.
The 2017 Grenfell Tower disaster, which claimed the lives of 72 people in West London, could have been avoided if lessons had been learned from a fire at Knowsley in Merseyside in 1991. That revelation was contained in the report today, which has followed a 6-year public inquiry. You've heard all about it on the national news. It accused cladding manufacturers of systematic dishonesty and found successive governments had ignored, delayed or disregarded concerns about safety. Well, for people here in the North West, living or working in buildings with unsafe cladding, the inquiry highlighted the serious safety concerns that continue to blight their lives. As Phil McCann reports.
Greater Manchester, a city region transformed by new tower blocks, and old tower blocks transformed by cladding. Much of them safe, some of them assessed as potentially unsafe. And for those living in them, there's the memory and the fear of what happened in West London at Grenfell.
In many ways, I don't live in central London in Kensington, but I do feel like I live in the shadow of Grenfell. It's a really good way of describing it.
Josh lived happily for years here at Skyline Chambers in the up-and-coming Noma district in central Manchester. But after Grenfell, buildings with cladding were reassessed for fire safety. Here, the external walls were judged to be a very high risk. Then nearly a year ago, the fire brigade said the risk was so serious they couldn't stay.
You do find it very, very difficult to sleep at night, and try and forget that. You see a building in its entirety on fire, and it results in 72 fatalities. It was horrific.
Today's report looks back to this fire at Knowsley Heights in Huyton, the first time there was extensive spread of fire through external panels. That was in 1991. Today's report says there were many opportunities for the risks of those panels to be identified and action to be taken. Paul owns 2 flats at Skyline Chambers that he was renting out.
Obviously it's an absolute disgrace. There's red tape that's basically been cut by the authorities, and health and safety issues that have just been completely ignored. And here we are with 5,000 buildings now affected with these cladding issues.
There is, of course, a huge financial impact too. Marion lived in this, the Green Building in central Manchester, deemed a fire risk so she could live in it but couldn't sell it.
What I don't want is my children inheriting a liability. I don't blame people not wanting to buy my flat. Who would want to buy somewhere that's considered dangerous?
Remedial works are now going to be done here, funded by Taylor Wimpey, which built it. It says its buildings complied with the regulations in place when they were built. New laws mean flat owners don't have to pay for lots of that work, but there are exceptions. Giles is a gladiator, fighting to get more defects fixed by building owners under government schemes.
We've still not got to a point where everyone can say, right, I know what the issues are at my home, or if I know it's safe. If there are issues, I know who's going to pay, who's going to fix it.
Wallace Estates, which owns Skyline Chambers, has signed legal orders outlining how this building is going to be fixed. Of course, today's report wasn't about the money. It was about how hundreds of thousands of people have been plunged into worry and limbo across the country, and how 72 people in one tower block in West London died avoidable deaths. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Now we're going to be in Paris a little later to hear about Dame Sarah Storey's latest Paralympic gold medal. But first, before that, in other news this evening, a man has died after being hit by a car which was allegedly speeding up the wrong side of a road in Manchester. It happened in Longsight on Monday night. We told you about the incident last night, but 2 men are being questioned now on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. A young woman who was at the forefront of a riot in Southport, which followed the killings of 3 girls there in July, at the end of July, has pleaded guilty to 3 offences. Ellie Clark was charged with violent disorder. She's now due to appear at Liverpool Crown Court next week. And Oasis have announced 2 extra Wembley Stadium shows and changed the way that tickets will be sold after a backlash at the use of dynamic pricing for their previous gigs. They will be sold in an invitation-only ballot to people who were unsuccessful in the initial sale with Ticketmaster. The rate of suicide is highest among women in their early 50s. It's an issue of which the BBC reporter Evie Kelsall from Barrow has personal experience. Her mum took her own life 4 years ago, and now Evie has made a documentary looking at whether more can be done to support women at a time in their lives when multiple pressures like the menopause and children leaving home can have a devastating impact on mental health. Here's Evie's report.
My mum, Karen Kelsall, took her own life in 2020. She lived in Barrow-in-Furness and was 53 years old.
She was more than those last couple of years. She was my mum for 18 years. And most of the time she was, the best mum I could have asked for.
More than 1,500 women die by suicide every year in the UK. Early 50s is the age women across the UK are at most risk of suicide.
It's a time of big change for women. Children leaving home, having to face relationship issues again as that happens, changes in having to care not just for young people but also for parents. Women are nearly always, or most commonly, the carers of older people.
For many women, accessing the right mental health support is difficult. An internal report carried out by Lancashire and South Cumbria NHS Foundation Trust found that the mental health services available were not provided to my mum.
She got dropped from one surface and didn't get picked up by the next and just fell through the hole. I think if they hadn't done that, she'd still be here.
I was pretty horrified that your mother wasn't offered the care that she should have been. She'd had postnatal depression, and that made her more vulnerable to getting mental health problems at the time of the menopause. And people do get lost in the system at that stage, but it's still just unforgivable, really, because she had self-harmed and nobody was picking up those red flags, that this was a woman suffering from depression who was getting worse.
At some point, one of these girls is going to have a baby, going to get married. The mum won't be there. That'll be such a loss for them.
Lancashire and South Cumbria NHS Foundation Trust told us it conducted an investigation into my mum's death, which fully complied with the inquest process. It said that the coroner ruled a conclusion of suicide but did not raise any issues with my mum's care. Evie Kelsall, BBC North West Tonight.
Thanks to Evie for her report, also to her sister Nicole and dad Andy for taking part in that documentary. If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in Evie's report, a list of organisations offering help and support is available via the BBC Action Line. You can see the web address there, bbc.co.uk/action line. Also, there's recorded information if you call that number 0800 066 066. Lines open 24 hours a day. You can also see Evie's documentary. It's called Disclosure, Losing Mum to Suicide. It's on the BBC iPlayer. You can watch it right now. Now, this week, as you well know, if you have a young person in your house or in your family, students, pupils have gone back to school or are going back to school for the start of the new year, I think tomorrow in our house. But what about those who are making the move to college after their GCSEs? Well, those students had their first years, of course, of high school badly affected by the pandemic and by the COVID lockdowns. So Ian Haslam's been to Blackburn College today to meet some of their new students and to hear how they were affected.
This is Maya, who's a healthcare student at Blackburn College and wants to be a children's nurse.
And look at the equipment they have here.
Yeah.
An almost real-life person. Creepy. But that helps you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it helps you learn how to deal with real people, so it is handy.
You started high school in the year of COVID. That was so disruptive for so many people. How did it impact on you?
It just completely tipped everything upside down because I barely spoke to anyone during COVID. And then I got back and I was completely off track of what I needed to do because by the second lockdown, it was just a case of losing your motivation for it because you were at home. By the time I'd got into year 9, I was very behind. I am very lucky to have ended up on here because I didn't think, with everything that happened with COVID, I didn't think I was going to.
Web design and security are among the elements of Hasnain's course.
We had to access work from home and it was very difficult for us, and you could see that our grades dropped a bit. And when it came to year 11, I revised quite a bit actually, and yeah, my grades improved quite a lot. Yeah, and then it just got better, and I passed everything. I'm now on this course.
Elsewhere, we met Daisy as she enrolled on her public services course.
Since I was young, I've always wanted to be somehow involved with the police, and as I've got older, I've got into being a canine handler.
And that's your long-term ambition, to become a police officer?
Yeah.
Nice. Keep on the right side of you then.
In the film and TV department is Blossom, who wants to be a director.
Well, I can't wait to learn the ins and outs of the film industry. It's just so interesting.
What challenges did you in particular face during the COVID year starting school then?
Well, one of the biggest ones was not being able to socialise and not being able to be with the teacher and ask questions that you want to ask the teacher. It did set a year back and I felt like I was behind in the following years ahead, but my school was really good at catching me up.
You've got your qualifications so far and now you're heading for Hollywood, hopefully.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Finally, we headed to the engineering department. Boris endured COVID and then conflict in his home country.
2 years ago, when the war began, I went from Ukraine to England, and first of all I didn't speak English quite well, but I picked it up very quick. Hoping to do construction as well in the future, maybe architecture, or create my own engineering company.
During COVID, Ben attended school as a child of a key worker and told us he enjoyed the smaller class sizes but not the lasting impact.
Do you think your year group has had a disadvantage in some ways though?
Yes, I do. With the way they've gone back to the pre-COVID marking as well, because a lot of us, the classes weren't the same with online learning. A lot of GCSE results are down. My targets were in the 8s, but I didn't get past the 6 because of that. But I'm still here doing the course I want to do.
So from what we heard, the class of COVID has been able to thrive, though getting there has for many been understandably difficult. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight, Blackburn.
Poor Ian, probably brought him out in a cold sweat. Best of luck to everybody going back to school and college this week. Now, the Upper Mill Brass Band Contest is an annual fixture. It's the oldest part of the Whit Friday event, which takes place in 11 villages around Saddleworth and Oldham. We report on it quite often. But there are concerns that council plans to install speed bumps on Upper Mills High Street could affect the players. Some residents say that the traffic calming is unnecessary, as Judy Hobson reports.
On the edge of the Pennines by Saddleworth Moor is Upper Mill. The road through the village can be busy and there are concerns over speeding. But proposals to put in 10 speed bumps along the high street here haven't gone down well with some residents.
No, I don't think it's necessary. We already have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit anyway.
Kevin and Brendan work here regularly.
Nobody really comes speeding through here anyway. I know they want to put more street lighting up.
It's a silly idea. I don't think they need it.
In fact, the only people we met who were in favour of speed bumps were from out of town.
I think it's a good idea in a village, you know, so busy village like this.
It would slow people down.
There are also questions over how speed bumps might affect some traditional events, like the annual brass band contest. John Collins is a local farmer and a brass band conductor.
You're trying to walk, because you don't really march, you walk to a beat. And you've got to play your instrument, you've got to look at your music at the same time as well. It's a complete nightmare. The roads generally are in a bad state anyway. You've got potholes and sunken grids and stuff like that, and it's going to be worse and compounded by the speed humps, you know.
Some residents are also worried about another traditional event.
It's going to make things a little bit difficult with the rush carts coming through, and if they've got to contend with speed bumps, it could make things a little bit difficult.
But this is about safety. The council says they're particularly concerned about motorists speeding at night, especially when people are leaving the local bars and restaurants.
There have been ongoing problems, especially in the evening, around sort of high performance cars, etc., going through the village very fast. Some of the pavements can be quite narrow, and there have been one or two incidents where people have been injured. I think we've had one fatality, so there is a need to sort of try and make it more safe.
The speed bumps are just one proposal. Residents have until September the 27th to give their views. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Upper Mill.
I'm sure people will give their views. Right, we're off to Cumbria next. The latest in our Make a Difference Award nominees from the BBC local radio stations around the region. And the story of a woman who spent the last 30 years raising money for people with sight loss after her son started to lose his. Her name's Eileen Jackson. She's been all over the South Lakes, raising money by organising fairs, coffee mornings, other events as well. And her friends and supporters think so much of her that they've put her forward for a BBC Radio Cumbria Make a Difference Award. And Michelle Adamson's been to see her.
Music, cakes and fundraising, all the perfect elements of a summer fair. And right at the heart of this one, in Kendal, is Eileen Jackson.
Right, so those are your tickets.
Not only is she helping make the raffle a success, she's been knitting toys for sale.
These are what I make when I'm sitting back watching television at night. I can't sit doing nothing, so I get these needles out and make these for charities.
I had a huge pile of Eileen's knitted toys on the stall at the beginning of the fair. Within the minute of opening, I'd sold £10 worth, and they've been selling like hotcakes all afternoon.
The money is being raised for the Sight Advice charity, where Eileen's been a volunteer for more than 30 years. They provide services to support visually impaired people, a cause that is close to Eileen's heart.
My son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 17. He's now 53, and that took his eyesight gradually. We approached Sight Advice for help, and then just gradually got involved in fundraising.
Eileen's efforts haven't gone unnoticed. She's been nominated in the volunteer category of the BBC Radio Cumbria Make a Difference Awards.
We're a small team, we've got 12 staff members, but we currently support over 2,500 people locally living with sight loss, and we would not be able to do the reach and breadth of the work that we do without people like Eileen supporting our work.
Should still be here. It's a green one, 369.
Me! Oh! Yeah! Hold on. No, I've got mine's 269. Sorry.
I actually would dread to think how much money she's raised. Well, not dread, it's a perfect thing to have raised, but it must be in the thousands, if not near £100,000.
There are a few people who really stand out in your life, and Eileen is one of them. She's an absolutely superb person.
Another green ticket.
Is it you?
Who is it?
Wonderful!
You made them, didn't you?
No, I didn't. Excuse me, you asked me to put my bag. It's got my name on back.
Michelle Adamson, BBC North West Tonight, Kendal.
Oh, really well done. Good luck to all the nominees in the Make a Difference Awards. Now, you probably know, I know, we're blessed in this part of the world with lots of pubs with loads of character. The Vines in Liverpool is one of them. It's often referred to as the Big House. The Grade 2 listed venue has now clinched an award for its restoration after years of decline, and Jonas Muller, lucky chap, has spent the day having a look.
There can't be many pubs that you go drinking in that have this look. Just ask Historic England. The refurbishment here has attracted their Conservation Award.
When we got into this building, this area here and all the way down the hallway was covered in 4 or 5 layers of vinyl, of carpet, just over the last however many decades.
So is that original?
Yeah.
We have the restoration of the original 1907 tiling, the stunning stained glass ceiling dome, and the intricate theatrical plasterwork.
People come here for the history of it, you know. This has been a staple to Liverpool for over 100 years. And, you know, every single person who walks in here has a story about being here, you know, about something that happened 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years ago. And to be able to bring it back to the city in a restored historical format is something we've really enjoyed doing.
Reopened in March 2023 after being purchased and restored by the 1936 pub company.
According to CAMRA, that's the campaign for real ale, the Vines is an example of how beautiful a pub can be. Judges praised its historic pub design and craftsmanship.
You've got Viking boats arriving in England, you've got cherubs, you've got the zodiac across the entire ceiling.
The Vines was built in 1907 by Walter Thomas for brewer Robert Kane in a neo-Baroque style.
You have to bring people here because when people walk in, they go, wow, yes, absolutely astonished.
What brings you back then?
Well, it's just a nice atmosphere, and also, if you come out for an afternoon, it's just nice to have a quiet drink.
I've been drinking here since 1970, which is a long time ago. It's always been a great pub. It used to be known as the Big House.
Why is it called the Big House?
I think it's literally because it's big. It's this huge centerpiece on the corner. You see it from any direction.
And perhaps I should mention the beer. I'm told that's not bad. Jonas Muller, BBC Northwest, Tonight, Liverpool.
Looks good, that's for sure. Right, let's head to Paris now, as promised, to hear about the 18th gold medal for Dame Sarah Storey. The Cheshire cyclist won her first, I heard this on the radio earlier, I'm pretty sure it's right, won her first as a swimmer in Barcelona in 1992. Well, she's now 46. She's won most of them as a cyclist, the latest coming in the time trial today. Robin Gray is live for us in Paris now, and she's competing, Robin, at 46 against people half her age.
1992 in Barcelona to 2024 here in Paris. Some achievement, isn't it, for Dame Sarah Storey? And today was, well, it was a little bit more difficult than what we've seen in previous years. This time, just winning it by under 5 seconds. And the course was very different to usual as well, a lot shorter for her, more than ever. But that record she now has in this time trial since Beijing 2008 of winning gold and holding that medal ever since then through to today is something incredibly special. What was really nice for Sarah Storey as well at the end today was that her children, both 6 and 11, were given special dispensation from school today, of course, as the kids went back around the country. They were able to come here to Paris and see her as well, and she spoke a lot about that in the build-up to these games, that she wanted to try and share that moment with them as well, something she was able to do. There were a few comments, though, made about the state of the course today in Paris. It was something which was just over 14 kilometres, which is a lot shorter than what we've seen in other times. The men do double that, and that's prompted a bit of a row today. Dame Sarah Storey said that it was appalling, the course. She also said that she thought that it needed looked at. There was times where her bike was going over pebbles, which is not something you would have seen in previous races she's been in before. But now all her attention turns to Friday, where she's in the road race, and she came here to get the medal she's got today, but I don't think she'll be happy going back to Disley until she's got another gold one too.
Robin, thanks ever so much. Robin Gray live for us in Paris, the Eiffel Tower just peeking out there behind him. A fantastic achievement from Dame Sarah Storey, winning yet another, her 18th gold medal, and who knows, there could be more on the way. Right, let's have a look at the weather. Emmanuel is here. It looked dry and pleasant in Paris. Have we got more on the same on the way, Emmanuel?
Well, a mixed picture over the next few days. Good evening. For a lot of us, this is how we started today, with clear skies, sunny spells. Thank you to our weather watcher there in Wigan. But as the day went on, we did start to see more in the way of cloud, and that cloud was just about thick enough to produce some rain in places. Now, of course, I always want to know what things are like where you are, so please do get in touch, send me your weather pictures, and also sign up to become a weather watcher. Thank you in advance. So weather-wise then, over the next few days, what is it looking like? Well, we're currently in between two areas of high pressure to the west and to the east as well. And over the next few days, we do have this area of low pressure. It will just about move up, and that could bring us potentially some showers if it does. So tonight then, we're expecting a good deal of dry conditions, a bit of cloud, potentially some showers as well. But of course, with showers, not everywhere we'll see them. Those showers could be on the sharp side, dry for a time, but then overnight you can see the clouds increasing from the east, some further rain in places with temperatures down to around 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. So a rather dry start tomorrow, that rain moving off, leaving us with a lot of cloud. I think if we do get any sunshine, the best of that sunshine will probably be for parts of Cumbria and Lancashire as well. But you'll notice temperatures starting to climb, with highs of around 20 degrees Celsius possible. Now today, it has felt a lot more fresh than it did yesterday, and tomorrow we'll start to see the change, and that's why temperatures are climbing. Overnight, we'll start to draw in that mild and humid air, so that means on Friday it is a rather muggy start, but it does set us up quite nicely for Friday itself. Very little cloud out there, a good deal of sunshine, and with that extra sunshine, we could be seeing temperatures getting up to around 26 degrees Celsius. Now, we'll continue to see those temperatures, similar temperatures, as we head into the weekend. Perhaps not as high, but still, you know, we're expecting 24 by the time we head into Saturday, and 23 degrees possible on Sunday. It's really a mix. We'll see some sunny spells at times. Of course, we do have some showers in the forecast as well. So temperatures still in the 20s by the time we head into the weekend. Roger.
So the tail end of summer is maybe trying to cling on.
Yeah, trying to make up for what it
didn't deliver.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's been absolutely grotty, hasn't it?
It has, but you know, looking nice on Friday.
Yeah.
So yeah, make the most of it.
Fingers crossed, especially for anyone who's lucky enough to have a day off.
Oh yeah, of course.
You got a day off?
Oh no.
I have. Bad luck. Thanks for watching, and have a lovely evening. Bye bye.